All right, let's jump right into this explainer. What if we took two of the most famous minds in human history and, well, swapped them? We're going to look at these two foundational archetypes of human progress, the 15th century Florentine polymath and the 21st century aerospace executive, not just as historical figures, but as ultimate case studies in how innovation actually happens. Just picture this for a second. Imagine dropping Elon Musk into 15th century Italy. He'd probably try a hostile takeover of Florence, get completely bogged down suing the Medici family for breach of contract, and honestly, we'd probably be using the Mona Lisa as a cover for a Spotify album right now. On the flip side, put Leonardo da Vinci in charge of a modern tech company as CEO. He would go bankrupt in exactly 6 months. He'd blow his entire R&D budget on, philosophical inquiries into fluid dynamics and the anatomy of a woodpecker's tongue instead of actually shipping a product to consumers. This whole crazy scenario instantly frames them not just as historical biographies, but as two completely competing business frameworks. It's literally the ultimate strategic divide for any leader or creator. On one hand, you have the contemplative polymath, the visionary who meticulously maps the territory, obsessing over the fundamental truths of design. And on the other, the industrial accelerator, the aggressive builder who just paves over that territory, weaponizing results to achieve absolute market dominance. So here's how we're going to break this all down today. 1. Two architects of progress. 2. The motor of the mind. 3. The paradox of the patent. 4. Bottega versus the Gigafactory. And finally, dreaming versus building tomorrow. Let's get into it.
Section 1. Two architects of progress. This comparative study is a critical strategic evaluation for modern leaders.
Now, both of these guys are what you'd call boundaryless omnivores of genius, meaning they just devour every discipline out there, from aerodynamics to engineering. But they represent a massive, fundamental schism in the history of innovation. It's the friction between pure ideation, the conceptual software of genius, and mass production, which is the grueling hardware requirement of physical reality. Historically, bridging that gap in a single human lifetime is incredibly rare. Why? Because the mental state you need to dream up a radically new concept is almost the exact opposite of the relentless practical stubbornness you need to manufacture it at scale. Moving on to Section 2, the motor of the mind. We really need to examine the completely incompatible velocities of their internal engines. This is where it gets really fascinating. It's a perfect contrast of the professional decelerator against the human accelerator. Leonardo was driven by deep contemplation. He was absolutely obsessed with the why of natural mechanics. His pace was deliberate, unhurried, distinctly nonlinear. To him, perfection didn't have a deadline. Musk, on the other hand, operates an iterative industrialization model fiercely driven by the result. His pace is tachycardic, relentlessly linear. And his talent strategy? High pressure. He ruthlessly optimizes personnel for maximum output rather than sustainable comfort. Basically, for Leonardo, genius was in the patience. For Musk, genius is in the panic. I absolutely love this comparison for how they approach time. Leonardo would spend weeks paralyzed by the aesthetics of a river vortex or the exact mechanics of a falling leaf. He'd gladly ditch high-profile commissions just to solve some peripheral intellectual puzzle. He used time as a canvas. Musk? He views nature as an obstacle to be burned and conquered. He doesn't want to contemplate the leaf, he wants to bend nature to his will through sheer velocity. Time isn't a canvas for him, it's a sworn enemy he has to defeat by aggressively scaling.
All right, Section 3, the paradox of the patent. There's a massive irony regarding what these two actually built.
Think about it. Leonardo is the world's most famous inventor, right? But materially, he invented almost nothing that actually functioned in his own time. Like we said, he was brilliant software without a computer to run on. His notebooks are masterpieces of code for tanks and submarines, but he completely lacked the hardware to boot them up. Conversely, Elon Musk is the operating system. Strip away the myth, and Musk hasn't materially invented a foundational technology from scratch. He didn't weld the first Falcon 9 fuselage himself, but he's the systemic catalyst who forces the hardware to catch up. He takes existing ideas lingering in academia and grinds them into mass market realities through brute force management and capital. So what actually grounded Da Vinci's brilliance? Well, 3 specific deficits trapped his helicopters inside those 15th century notebooks. First, the materials science deficit. The Renaissance just didn't have high-strength alloys, vulcanized rubbers, or lightweight composites. Second, a total absence of industrial infrastructure. No assembly lines, no standardized parts, everything was bespoke. And third, the power source vacuum. His designs practically required internal combustion or electricity centuries before they even existed. His genius wasn't flawed, it was literally a structural failure of timing.
Section 4. Bottega versus the Gigafactory. How their internal mindsets dictate the actual physical landscape of their workspaces.
The sensory contrast here is off the charts. Imagine walking into Leonardo's bottega. It's a place of slow, philosophical silence. You can practically smell the linseed oil, watching those painstaking, slow-drying brushstrokes. It fosters world-class, generational intellectual property, but lacks any urgency to ever leave the lab, resulting in the classic unfinished masterpiece. Now contrast that quiet space with the Gigafactory. It's a high-decibel, brutalist meat grinder. It's a chaotic cacophony of robotic welding, the smell of molten aluminum, desperate engineers sleeping under their desks to hit a midnight quota. And it's all dictated by a leader who can shift global markets by 10% with one late-night tweet.
Now, if you are running a team today, pay attention, because this maps out highly practical warnings about the failure modes of both extremes. Lean too far into endless contemplation like Leonardo, and you risk stranded R&D. Your capital gets eaten up by beautiful experiments that never reach a consumer. It's a failure to launch. On the flip side, the Musk model brings its own severe risks: extreme financial volatility, endless regulatory friction from bypassing legal protocols for speed, and most importantly, severe human capital depletion. That relentless drive risks burning out the exact brilliant people you need for your next big breakthrough.
Finally, Section 5. Dreaming versus building tomorrow. How do we actually balance the software of vision with the hardware of execution? The ultimate key insight from this entire explainer is this: Leonardo dreamed the future because he lacked the tools to build it. Musk builds the future because he has no time to dream it. Vision without infrastructure is completely inert. If you can't build the hardware and the teams to sustain your vision is a liability. It's just a sketch. But at the same time, speed without philosophy leads to burnout and a product without a soul. To truly lead and innovate today, you have to know exactly when to slow down and observe the river, and when you absolutely must burn the leaf to reach the stars. I want to give a massive, heartfelt thank you to all of you for joining me on this explainer today, diving deep into the mechanics of innovation. Understanding this profound tension between the visionary and the builder really is the absolute prerequisite for effective organizational design today.
So, as you evaluate your own trajectory, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you look at how you work, lead, or create, which archetype truly governs your mind? Are you here to pursue the ultimate truth of the design, or are you here to enforce the mass utility of the product?